All right. Hi, everybody. Thanks for your patience as we work through some technical issues with Teams. We are recording this, so if you have friends that wanted to join, they can watch it later. I'm going to do a very short intro to Effie Brown, who has taken an hour of her time to be with us. She is one of my favorite people to work with. I wish that she made every single one of her movies in Mississippi, and we will work toward that. Wherever we can. She made a film here in Mississippi called The Inspection. I think that was 2021, 22, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Effie and I have known actually each other since the early 2000s, and I'm interested to know, why is it that you were interested in Mississippi that early? Before we keep going.
I like Mississippi, noon and non-noon. I have my great uncles were from there, so they were twins. The one was born at noon and one was born at not noon, so that was their names. So that's why I've always been interested in Mississippi. I'm not kidding. I know it sounds crazy.
How do I not know? This is the first time I've heard this story.
Oh yeah, really?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so I want to start. So this session is for all of the people joining because we want to help everyone just take a step up in their professionalism in the state. We have a growing industry. We have worked nonstop, using up our incentive for the last 5 years or so. So we're maxing out our incentive. We've got new people joining the industry all the time. We've got seasoned people that are still part of the industry, but things change constantly. So with your help, we're all going to level up. Just to give you some context of who might be on this call, based on the people that I saw signed up, it's everyone from our union reps to somebody that's a student to actors, people that have quite the resume. So it's really a range of folks, but I really want to make sure that we're talking to like the first time person. They're starting to break in. So how did you start in the industry?
I came up through the ranks for myself. Hey, everybody. I know we're lean, but like we're mighty. But I got into the business. I went to college at Loyola Marymount University in Los Angeles, and it was senior year, and I knew that I had to like pull it together. Do you know what I mean? I was like, oh no, I'm getting ready to graduate. And I don't know nobody. I have no uncle, no daddy, no mother that's in the industry. No one can get me in. So I called the Black Business Bureau, which was I don't even know if there's even a line anymore. This is like 100 years ago. And the Black Business Better Bureau, or whatever, I called them up and I was like, hey, I want to work in movies. And it was such a random thing that you do as a kid, or someone young and hungry and brash. And this woman on the phone was like, oh, you want to work on a movie? My cousin is working on a movie with Robert Townsend. Let me call her and see if I can't get you an internship. So it was literally a cold call, a stranger. I don't know who she is. I don't remember what her name is or whatever. But I was like, and I was just free. I'm like, I'm graduating, in a couple of months, and I don't know where to go. I can't get an internship, and I want to work on a film of color, Black film. What do I do? And she literally hooked me up with her cousin, who hooked me up with someone else. And that's how I became, my first job was an intern on the 5 Heartbeats with Robert Townsend. So that's how I know Robert Townsend. He did Hollywood Shuffle. He did the 5 Heartbeats. Laretha Jones was his producer, who then went on to run Paramount and BET and is like a producer on her own. And that's how I made my way. So I used Film Independent. I mean, it's a much longer story. I'm a lady of a few years. Do you know what I mean? But like it took a lot. But I literally, not a lot, but like it was through the kindness of others, but also it took that hustle of just being like, this is what I want. Like my granny was very clear of like, a closed mouth does not get fed. You got to tell people what you want and what you're looking for so they can help you.
I'm so glad that you said that, because I tell students and people that are just trying to get into the industry, say it out loud. What is it that you want to do? Don't just say, hey, I want to be in film. Like, let's say it out loud. Because if we don't know what you want to do, if you don't say, I've always wanted to be a director of photography, we don't know how to direct you. So
you don't know
very
exactly.
Helpful.
And even if someone says, I don't know, but I just feel like I want to be in this. And then someone will be like, oh, great. What do you like, oh, you know what you can do? Because when I didn't go into producing. I worked in craft service And if anyone who knows what craft service is, I was an intern for craft service. So I did garbage and food. Terrible combination. Do you know what I mean? Great combination because I knew everybody, but like literally like I'm making food and I'm cleaning up garbage. Do you know what I mean? I was like, okay, I'm picking up cigarette butts. Oh, those are the glorious days you could like smoke on set. So I would go pick up cigarette butts. But like, so that's what I did. And then I went into extras casting. But you know what else? Like what I really loved about that experience is it was a lowly, not lowly, because it was my first internship. I met Wynn Thomas. Wynn Thomas, who's a very, he just got an honorary Oscar Black production designer who did all of Spike Lee's films, like from She's Gotta Have It to Do the Right Thing to all the things. And Kakai Ampa, who like did as a location manager, like Mission Impossible. So that crew of people that I met when I was like, I think I was 21, and now I'm
seasoned.
older.
You're seasoned.
Seasoned. I'm vintage, as the children say. Do you know what I mean? I still know them to this day. And now we're sort of like, sort of trudging the road, but just being like, those are like really long relationships, and they remember me like, I remember when you were a kid, and I'm like, really? Do I still look the same? But yeah.
Well, so let's we're going to imagine that you are coming to Mississippi to make the inspection. We're going to go back in time.
Yes.
And probably much like many of your films, you go to a jurisdiction. Oftentimes you're not working in Los Angeles, which is where you're based. I think that's correct, that you're going out into the world.
Very true.
And so you don't necessarily know the crew base in that jurisdiction. So when you came here for the inspection, you obviously knew our office, you knew me. And
well, that was huge. That was a big part. Sorry, ask your question before.
No, go ahead. Go ahead and finish.
No, I'm saying like that was huge. Like I've shot like I've lived in Los Angeles, but I've shot like in, Hawaii, Nevada, New Jersey, Baltimore. Do you know what I mean? Minnesota. Like, you shoot all over. And what really makes it so is that is having a connection and having a lifeline of someone who needs you to succeed and wants you to succeed. So Nina, I've known you since like Jesus was a baby, right? Like for years and years, even before you had this gig, right? And I remember I was like, gosh, and I like the South. I said it. Do you know what I mean? I like the South. My family is from like the Panhandle. Like I like the South. My family's from around there. But what's important is having a film commissioner or someone from that, hope if they don't have a film commissioner, like someone from that department that can be like, oh, okay, you want to make a movie, and be able to give you, because locations are the first. It's not crew that leads. Sorry, I don't know if that's important to say. The first thing, like whenever I'm doing a movie, I need to be like, okay, where can I go? Right? Where can I go that'll give me money back? Right? And that's like, oh, Minnesota is a cash rebate. Like you go to a couple places that give you cash rebates, right? Instead of tax credits. We can go into that later. And then I'm like, okay. And then you go to those places, you give them the script, right? And you say, can you send me some location photos of what could possibly work, right? And then there's a couple places that were like, oh, we could do this or we can do that. But you need and please forgive me. I'm blanking on the location manager's name that really helped out, like got us Melita, like that got us that. Like,
oh, Kirk Daniel was in our office at that time. And
he did like high five to him, right? Because he was the one who was like, try this place. And you and him went above and beyond to be like, here's the place, here's what could be here, this could be here, and here's the person. We've already laid a little groundwork, and they'd be interested in you talking to you about shooting here. That's what made the difference. Do you know what I mean? We were able to sort of turn it over. And then from there, it comes to a lot of like, okay, once you have the place, you have the money, you can make the movie for the money. And then you have to be, who are your people, right? What is the crew base? And then you start realizing that, like we had, like what I should have, like what I would do now that I didn't do then, is that I would have made sure that I spent maybe a little bit more time trying to see who was in Mississippi, right? Do you know what I mean? And then also to be like, oh, the lay of the land. Because I think we pulled from Tennessee. We also pulled from Louisiana because there was like the crew base they were doing another movie. We were not the only job in town, which was very upsetting. But like, whatever. But it was good of being able, like the crews were really lovely. We really liked that. And it also, it was great. Like people were able to come in, and everybody was good people, I was gonna say. I mean, there was one that I won't name, but I want to, but like, but there's that one, that guy. But everybody was really lovely and really knew their job, knew their thing, knew it all. There was no training. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like I'm coming out here. Everybody was like top notch. So that was really great too.
That's great. Really, I mean, that's super good feedback. I mean, I think that oftentimes Mississippians might think, well, what are they going to think of us? Maybe they don't. The Los Angeles producers are going to think we're not qualified or experienced enough. So it's really great to hear that you had a good experience with the exception. So when you are like, if we send out a crew call for you, we send out a blast through our email newsletter or social media, and you're recruiting for various crew positions, just like nuts and bolts, what do you want that email to look like? Like, what does the subject look like? What does the email body of the email look like? And what does the resume
I don't
look
know.
like?
You know what? This is so funny because I'm sure now like Chat GPT would make that email for me and make it dynamic. But like, but for myself, what's important is since I do films that are about usually like if you look over my history of my career, I make films that are about people that are inclusion, right? Do you know what I mean? Women, people of color, LGBTQ plus people with disabilities in front of and behind the scenes. Like that's like been my brand from But I'm a Cheerleader all the way to like, the movie I'm doing in Uganda now. So what's important to me is I need to make sure that people have the same sort of, and not integrity, but the same sort of mission statement that like of inclusion. Like we're all, you know what I mean? Like we're all in it to win it together. We're all one big happy family. Like that's what I need to make sure. And also to make sure that like my sets reflect America. And that's important. I know I'm going a little bit on a soapbox, but it actually works. If you look through all of the movies that I've made, it's always been very clear of like I need the films to reflect what America looks like and the different types of people that it can come together from different perspectives to make a movie. So to answer your question about the email is it would be something to make sure of like that they understand the mission statement, that this is an inclusive and welcoming set. Two, I need to make sure that they're down with the content of the film because my movies reflect the people that are working on them and who I'm making them for. So like I need to make sure like, do you understand that? And then, if I'm looking for a gaffer or a grip or a boom person or what have you, you know what I mean? Like they know what that job is. Like it's an IA job, most likely, right? So it's really important. Like and usually, and I'll say I found this with the unions here being in Mississippi, they were well trained. Do you know what I mean? Like there was no, they were great. Like there was no like, so I didn't have to be like a boom person holds the boom. No, there was none of that. They're like, they're like, what are you talking about? They're super professional. They know what's up. I just need to make sure. And I feel that you did that of being like, we're making, this is what the content of the movie is about. It might not be what you personally believe in, but it's what we believe. But, all of those sorts of things. So that's what, for me, I found it really helpful. And I think you guys did cover that because we wanted to make sure that whoever showed up to set would be like, wait, what? They would be like, what is this movie about? What are you doing? So yeah.
In just real quick, like in the subject, is it helpful if somebody calls out, like if they are applying for a camera assistant job, should they put that in the subject, like attention camera department, so that you can, as a line producer or production manager,
wants to, if someone's like,
yeah.
I'm interested in like but usually people like I'm a PA or I am this. But what's interesting, a department. So a camera assistant, it's going to be tough because that's also a union, right? Like normally your union will tell you what you're supposed to be
Sure.
and where to go. So like that sort of cuts that out. So you're never really being like, like if you were sending out something and like we did a lot for department heads of like, hey, I need like local department heads. You put out that for the department heads. And then we would interview them and then they would come with their people, right? I would oversee, but just that's typically how it works. But if you're doing like an email blast for like things that are not like a production assistant or like a PA, like PA, costume PA, like people like that, it is good if they want like, hey, I want to work on a movie. It's great to say what department you would like to work on. Because if someone's like, I want to work on makeup and hair, to be like, I don't know if I can put like a someone brand new with my actors. Right? You know what I mean? Like that's a very, very particular thing to be like, I can't have you, or, there's certain places you want to make sure that you want everyone to succeed, right? You don't want to set anyone up for failure. So if someone was coming in, I would say a wish list of department would be great, but sometimes it's better to be like, hey, like if you don't know what you want, which is also okay, because a lot of times people who are coming onto a film who are intern PA or at the beginning, they're like, I don't know, I've never been on a movie before. I don't know what is craft service. I don't know what a Teamster does. I don't know what props, like, what I mean? There's so many different departments and places. They might be like, what I'm really good at? Handling crowds. I love meeting new people, and I'm really good at administrative paperwork. And I was like, great. You know what you would be great in? Extras casting. You'd be great at checking in the cast because you'd meet all the people. You'd get to know who that, you know what I mean? Like you get to know if someone's like, I really just like to I like equipment. I like to rig things. Great. Well, maybe you would go into like if the grips and the gaffers would let you be like like a rigging PA, like a rigging person, a rigging PA. Like there's just ways to go in. There's some people that are like, I'm a screenwriter, or, I really like detail. I'm detail oriented. I really want to make sure and be like, oh, you know what? Script supervisor. Everyone sleeps on the script supervisor. They need help too, because sometimes you're dealing with multiple cameras. And they also are looking to be like, oh, this is how we break down the script. This is how we see if like her hair is on this side in one take, and on the next take it's over here. You know what I mean? Like, then to be like, oh, you're really good at that sort of thing, so we can put you here. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. We had somebody, this was a million years ago. Somebody I knew had never worked on a movie before. Oh, brother, where art thou was here. So truly like a million years ago. And he was like, I don't know what to put on my resume. I've never done any of this. And I was like, well, go ahead, put your general skills, but what are you really, really good at? And he said, I make a damn good cup of coffee. I said, put that on there. You're going to stand out. You're going to stand out. And
very David Lynch. But like, I love that.
he could build things, but he made a damn good cup of coffee, and he got the job. And he ended up working on that movie. He ended up going to Los Angeles and worked on more Coen Brothers movies after that, and started a whole career. And has come back to Mississippi as well. But I mean, that's, to your point, that's important. What are you really good at? If you've
what do you think you'd like? You know what I'm saying? Like, some people are like, 'cause here's another thing that people forget about. I'm really good at numbers and all of that, but I don't want to go working at like H&R Block or at accounting to be like, baby, come. There's like movies, like, there's accounting. We need you. Payroll? Like that's always someone you need. Someone per diem, petty cash. There's a place for like, if like whatever little, thing you got, like you're good at, there's a place for you.
Okay, let's say that I have now got the job. You've hired me, and I'm showing up for day one. What do I need to bring with me for like start paperwork? Like, that's the accountants
and I'm fancy. I'm just kidding. No, like this, I'm like, I don't know. I'm like this. I'm like, I know not to tread on that, because my accountant and my line producer would punch me in the face if I not in a figurative sense. Do you know what I mean? If I started stepping on like, you need to bring this, but I can tell you what you need to bring on because they'll tell you. I mean, it's like a regular job, right? And let me tell you what. You better have your paperwork done before you step on the set. That's first and foremost. That's a deal memo, right? I deal with the deal memo of making sure that like who's signing what and like everyone is agreeing to the terms. That's what's important, period. But like when someone is showing up to set for the first time, there's a couple of things, which is like, what you do? You wear clothes that that are going to be might get a little messed up. Do you know what I mean? You're going to be in them for them. They better be comfortable. You better wear a closed-toe shoe. No flip-flops. Get out of here, right? There's no flip-flops, no soft. You need like a hard shoe. Do you know what I mean? That's really important. And a comfortable shoe. Like this, and people are like, that sounds so weird to be like, yeah, because it's literally, God willing, if you're shooting like a 12-hour day, that's 14 hours on your feet. You have an hour load in, shoot 12, and an hour load out, right? Do you know what I mean? And like, that's a long time. And being in a kitten heel and like a skirt is not going to do it, right? Do you know what I mean? Like that's, that's real talk,
Yeah.
Also, what I find really interesting is making sure that like your phone, like people have to get like, let it go. Do you know what I'm saying? Like put that stuff on mute, you know what I mean? Or our focus and have the only like your bosses texts are the only ones that are able to come through. Like it's a new technology. When we were coming up making movies, sorry, you know what I mean? The world was different.
Yeah.
Nowadays, do you know what I mean? Like you're looking around and you're like, is everybody on their phone? And to be like, I'm not paying you to be on your phone. I'm paying you so that you can help make this movie, that we can have your attention and focus, so we can make, so you we can your expertise, or your new expertise can help elevate this movie. If you're looking at the latest TikTok or whatever, like that is not that. So those are the things that I sort of like for new people that are coming in, of like dress comfortably, wear a comfortable shoe. I think your guy that you talked about before, of someone being like, you know what, making a good cup of coffee, that's great. I mean, I know when I get assistants, and I try to get a local assistant, because I'm like, look, I like to eat, right? You know what I mean? Like, let me tell you what, I get hangry. You don't want me when I get hangry. It gets real. So like people are like, oh, I know where to go and how to go and like get places fast and get food. Like that's important to me. So if someone was like, I know where all the best spots to get the best meat, I'm like, you're my person, right? Whatever. Like stuff like that.
So I remember when you were here for the inspection, that was during COVID, like 21, like
We were
COVID
right,
time.
like 21. Yeah, it was 21. Yeah, 21, 22. Like
And I
COVID
think
was
we were
like
your
very
first
strong.
movie during COVID. And I remember you telling me, you said, I just love it here in Mississippi. Do you, do you have any idea what I'm talking about? Like why you told me you loved Mississippi at that very moment in
I
time?
do, but I want to hear you say it, because I don't,
Okay.
I don't want to say the wrong way
All right.
and be like,
You were
Effie does
like,
that. I was like,
you're like, everybody talks to everyone here. Like they acknowledge me in the grocery store. And, like if you had a question
interactors.
about where to
Yeah.
eat, people would tell you. You were staying in Fondren, you were going to the coffee
People
shop,
were
they knew
lovely.
who you were. And that is not your norm, right?
No, there's
And
a
I think
beautiful, like, and what I,
Mississippians need to know this.
no, no, and that's a high five. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I remember like just during the time of COVID where everyone was like, no, but like, oh, I will say like we were very safe. We had to follow all the protocols, all of that good stuff. And I'm happy we did it. We're great. You know what I mean? But what I loved is like, you guys might not realize it because it's your culture, but literally walking down the street, how you doing? And someone being like, well, I'm all right. How are you doing? And I'm like, oh shoot, like you're responding. Do you know what I mean? Like, or someone's like, or someone's like, how are you? And I'm like, all right, keep moving. And they're like, I asked how you are. And they're like, oh, you really want to know? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm telling you. Like, it's beautiful. It's that sort of like communication and camaraderie. And it's also that hospitality. Like, don't get that twisted. That's a beautiful thing. And a lot of places don't have that. That sort of and that, that kindness. It's not weakness, it's kindness. And being able to be like, oh sure, let me help you, let me do that. It's and you guys have that. You know what I'm saying? And like, and I don't, and I'm always was like, we made sure like no one took advantage. Do you know what I mean? But you guys are open and lovely and very inclusive and know how to eat.
Always back to the
Can you
food.
tell I'm hungry? It is noon my time. I'm like this, like I'm about to have a good lunch. But I had a really good, and it was beautiful there too. And I don't know, it was just nice. I mean, I have to say, I had a really good time shooting in Mississippi, and I would love, but I'm looking forward to being able to come back. I loved it. Yeah.
All right, back where is it? We're back on the set.
Yeah,
Is there
got it.
any
Back on
is
set.
there any walkie etiquette that you want to share with newbies?
I think you should talk to an AD with that, but I'll tell you what I don't like. Here's the thing that I hate. I don't like, there's no like keying, you know what I mean? Like there's no unnecessary talking on the walkie. Because remember, and maybe you guys don't know, on a film set, everybody has a walkie-talkie and they have this thing in their ear, right? So like you can feel like you're like a Secret Service person, but every person who's on that walkie is coming into your ear if they're on that channel. So nobody wants to hear jibber jabber over something that doesn't matter. Like walkie etiquette is something like you only talk on the walkie when you have something, needed to say. over, like, you know what I mean? The AD would be able, it's been a long time since I've had to use the walkie, to use like be on the walkie. I have my assistant or someone else, but keeping that very sparse is the way to go so that people can actually focus. And then also I would say, like, you should probably talk to Vince. There's a whole like walkie etiquette. I'm grateful to say that I am removed from that. From that, like, I am grateful to say that I'm able to be removed from that. But I just know that now. And here's another thing too. Walkie etiquette is a little different now because of cell phones. And now you can text. Do you know what I'm saying? So like that's a thing. Like I hated like, and there's a thing called, I want to get to in the weeds, called keying, where like somebody's walkie would be on and they wouldn't know that their walkie is on. So everyone hears their whole damn conversation. And remember, I have 80 people on a set that might be using a walkie. 20 of them might be on the same channel. So like that's why it's like being very sparse, using it only when necessary.
That's helpful.
And the other walkie etiquette is if someone gives you a walkie, you make sure you return it at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? Because that's the thing that's always a drag. You have like 50 walkies at the top of the shoot. And then like at the end of the shoot, like, oh, I took it. I don't know what happened to it or whatever the case may be. You know, walkies are very expensive.
Yeah.
So return them at the end.
Chain of
I'm
command.
talk about set etiquette. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Set
like
etiquette.
walkie etiquette is like a little like I'm grateful that that's a bit beyond me now. But like set etiquette is very important, and I'm more talking about when you're a department head, you know what your job is, and working underneath that department. So like costumes knows what costumes, props knows what props, grips know what grips do. But where there's people that sort of move through, which are PAs, interns, and assistants. There's also production office people that have to come on to set. Like the production office rules and set rules are very different sometimes. And literally, so like for me, the set etiquette is, and this is what's gonna get you hired and get you fired, is gonna be you're gonna see a group of people that are gonna be usually executives or producers that are sitting in directors' chairs looking at a monitor. I'm just telling you, this is like, and I know it sounds super bougie and awful, but I'm just telling you, like when you see those people, you don't come over and sit there and watch like it's TV. That's not what they're doing. That's the quickest way to be like, get out of here. Do you know what I mean? Because they're watching something very particular, are having very sort of private conversations. And sometimes people just like want to go and like, oh, looking and seeing and be, that's a way to get you like let go fast or get sent you to the far end to lock up. Locking up is really important as a PA too, where you have to lock down a set, like the entrances and exits. Like if I'm having a conversation by a taco stand, you know, I have like 4 PAs on this side and 4 PAs on this side while the camera's shooting us. The PAs, it's very important that they have to have diplomacy, boundaries, and discipline to ask people nicely. Don't walk like, please, can you just stop? Because we're filming over there, like filming over there, and they have to stop people. That's very, very important. And that's a big and beautiful job. And you want to is to be able to lock up a set without annoying other people around you, like the community. So that's like another big thing. And then also knowing who to let through and who not to let through. It's very big. Also, you know, another thing is this is I know these are, but you'll get it, like the lunch line.
Hmm.
Right? So at lunch, what's really, you know, what's really I think is really important is like the actors and the department heads go through because they're on the clock and they have to get back to work. You know, it's sad to say, but we all came up this way, but like PAs and interns, like we eat last because those people with the bigger that need to get back onto set need to get in to eat first. Like I know that like someone's either green or there's a problem if like my PAs run and they're first in line before the DP, before the director, before the actor, before the key grip, electric, who usually have to eat and then head back to work while the actors are going through the works. Does that make sense? Am I going too in the weeds?
No, that's good. I think that's really
And then
important.
the other thing is, I want to just go in and be like, it doesn't hurt if you're going onto a set to know what things are. like an apple box is not a box full of apples. It's a platform. You know what I mean? A C stand. What does the C stand look like? What are certain things like, Video Village? That's the place where all the muckety mucks are sitting there watching the screen. There's certain things are how to like, you don't just walk into a person's trailer, right? You know what I mean? Like, whatever, you just go in and tell them you need it in 5 minutes and go. You have to like, you know what I mean? There's a whole proper way of doing it. And what's great about this is like, you can ask somebody. People are super forgiving. And they're like, because I remember my first time of being a PA, or one of the times it was with Lou Gossett Jr. And I didn't know any better. And he was so classy. Like, they're like, Effie, go get Lou Gossett Jr. We're ready for him on set. And I'm like, okay. Do. I did open Lou Gossett's trailer. Do you know what I mean? Like, he could have been naked. He could have been having a moment. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, all the things. And I just opened up. I'm like, hey, we're ready for you on set. And I'm sitting there like, let's go. You know what I mean? And it was so nice because like he looked at, and he wanted to wring my neck. He looked at me, but hopefully he found me charming because and I was like, what? And then they're like, his bodyguard was like, hey, sweetie, this is what you do. And he schooled me. And he could tell that I was mortified that like I didn't know that I made a mistake. I didn't know what I did was really offensive. But he was kind to me and was like, you wait outside, you knock, and then someone will open the door, you relay the message, and then they'll close the door back. You don't come inside unless they tell you to come inside, and that's very rare. Do you know what I'm saying? And being like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, but like, you know what? You only got to get told twice. I didn't have to get told once. I didn't have to get told twice. People start getting upset with you if it's like, this is the third time I've told you this. Right? You know what I mean?
And
then, like,
there's nothing wrong with the enthusiasm. That's awesome that you're enthusiastic.
Using enthusiasm is great. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's like, and I'd rather have someone, I think that's one of the things you're going to talk about is I'd rather have someone like take the initiative and do something where I'm like, oh shit, don't do that. There's a whole protocol. But they're like, oh, but I got it. You said you wanted it, so I got it. I love that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, ooh, good job, you got it. And then I can go and do a little damage control or do a little something. Or, but it's I'd rather someone be a problem solver or a self-starter than me being like, hey, you know what? It's around 3:00 and you know that your director, who's your boss, starts to hit that slump, right? So do you need me to go and say, you probably want to go get him like a coffee or get her a coffee to perk her back up again? Or to be like, hey, you know that like she always leaves her bag, right? That has her notes in it, right? You know what I mean? So like, so instead of me telling you to keep eyes on her bag and on her purse, you should probably just have that on you. That's how you anticipate needs.
Right. Yeah, I think there's a balance between anticipating those needs and being proactive, but then also knowing when to ask a question and don't be scared to ask that question. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. What's the best way to do this? Rather
Exactly.
Kind of a combination of being proactive, but also knowing that you don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So obviously on set, sometimes things don't go as planned. So let's say that there's a safety concern, like maybe there's a gun on set and there's supposed to be certain protocols. What if something is not happening, doesn't feel safe, and you're a PA? How would you as a producer want to deal with that? How would they who do they need to talk to? What's the line of
this is the thing. Let me tell you, I tell you what, PA, intern, person walking down the street, whatever it may be, I need you to snitch. You must snitch. Like, if this is the one time, you got to tell somebody, tell something, because the alternative, it's game over for all of us. Do you know what I'm saying? So like, that's where people are like, oh, I didn't want to say or whatever. I'm like in this instance, snitches are not like, this is what we need. We need you to be like, yo, I think so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. Or like, I checked that or whatever. I love that. Like in my experience, I'll say this, and I'm very proud of this. Like whenever there's a weapon on set, there's a very specific protocol that we go through. I have a great AD, I have a great specialty prop person. Like it's flawless. And that's beautiful to see because once you run it like rigidly, everybody knows that that's the chain of command and that's how things go. there's never an opportunity to be like, well, wait, the AD didn't go through and show us that there's nothing in the gun, right? You know what I mean? He took it from the props person, like there's certain protocols. If they're like, hopefully the producer is there and can call it. But if a PA or someone, even or forget PA, like a camera assistant, a grip, a best boy, whoever it is, it's everybody's responsibility at that time to be like, yo, something isn't right. I don't feel safe. Like, let's say, like, so that's like gun is very specific, and that's a
Yeah.
big like physical safety thing for a lot of people, right? And like life and death. But there's also other times of being like, someone who's a PA to be like, can this person talk to me this way? You know what I mean? Like, can they call me names? Can they treat me this way? Can they like not shove me, but like, you know what I mean? Sort of like be brusque with me like that? Like, is that just like paying my dues? No, it is not just paying your dues. It is not okay. Someone like, no one should treat you like you're still like, you know what I mean, learning and going through the ranks, but you should never be disrespected. You should never feel belittled. You should never have any of that. So that's when also it's important to have like someone be like, I don't like it. Like, like I've had people come up and be like, I don't like this person, or like this happened to me, or like I don't like how they're speaking to me, or like, is this normal? Just let somebody know, like let your boss, and if it's your boss, let someone who you trust know. I usually like to go to, like, I try to make an open door with all the PAs, and I'm usually friendly with all the PAs because they get me candy from craft service, so I don't look like a pig. Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, that's how the PAs know, where they're like, you want to be on my best side? Get me a couple Jolly Ranchers or a Rice Krispie treat. You know what I mean? Like, but because literally, I'll tell you this: the people who know what's going on in your sets are the Teamster drivers who drive the vans and the PAs. I don't care what anyone says. And then people say, "Oh, it's makeup and hair." Makeup and hair only know about what's going on with the actors per se, but the PAs have to interact with everybody, and so do the Teamster drivers who drive those vans and shuttle people back and forth. They hear things, say all that, and that's why on my sets, I really love to be like, tell me everything, right?
Yeah, I think that's a really important thing to hear from a producer, because sets don't have like an HR director. You're the HR director, so just to be able to empower each crew member that if something's not right, like it clearly feels like
Right.
this is off, that they should be able to.
100%. And sometimes it's the producer. Like I'm not saying not me. I'm a genius. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm totally lying. No, but like sometimes, but I will say sometimes it's a producer. That's a person in charge. It's like this person is like maybe working us like an 18-hour day. That's crazy talk. Or they're doing this. Then it's like if the boss is doing that, then I need to go to the AD, because the AD is the safety officer of all the set, right? And then you have oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm blanking on the name of it. Someone tell me there's not a set person, there's a shop steward.
Yeah.
Thank you, a shop steward. That's also like, so you have fallbacks, right? Like your AD is in charge of the safety of the set. If anything goes wrong on a set, that's ultimately like everyone's looking to the AD. And then if the AD, there's a shop steward, that's like, yo, like that's with the crew. And that's like, hey, there's like 5 or 6 of the crew that like a lot of times is it that really hate the catering. Like they're not going, yeah, that's what we often hear of, like, we hate the catering, like we're going off site, like people are getting sick from it, but like they're not like, I'm just letting you know, you might want to, before this percolates up, you might want to handle it. But if something like the producer is doing, you have those 2 other people to go to. And if those 2 other people, at the end of the day, it's all on you. You don't feel safe, get to stepping. Do you know what I mean? To be like, I don't want to do it. Because what's worse is you go against your first mind or your gut, and something goes sideways, and then like nobody cares then, right? You know what I mean? Woulda, coulda. Like it's like you want to protect yourself, and by you protecting yourself, sometimes you protect others as well.
Yeah. So also just a problem solving thing. I know this has never happened on one of your sets. It has happened on a couple sets here in Mississippi, rarely, but it has happened, where a crew's working really hard. Let's say it's during a time period like during strikes, for example. There's not a whole lot of work. So you take this smaller job, you're working, everybody loves each other, you're in week 3, you've got 2 more weeks to go, and your paycheck doesn't come.
Oh, I will say this with love in my heart. Mm-mm, mm-mm.
So let's just imagine that you were in that position. Okay, just imagine yourself as a
I
crew
don't want
member.
I've never enough. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Um, what
What do you do?
what do you do? What do you do if you're a crew member in that position? What do you do?
This is not what you want to hear, but if I were a crew member, there was one time at the beginning of my career when I was a line producer, and that happened, where I was like, wait a minute, we're supposed to get paid, including myself, on Thursday, and they're like, oh, sorry, the checks aren't going to be here maybe until like we don't have enough. We don't have an At first it was like, oh, it's going to come on Friday, and then you start hearing of like, oh, you don't have enough to make your payroll.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is, and that's the thing. That's what I mean by like sometimes producers and people above you will be like, well, let's just try to get in the canon. Like you're hoping and wishing and praying. Like literally when I hear and when I heard that like, oh, um, we're not going to get paid, I was like, my crew trusts me. I will never work again, or no one will follow me into battle or into a film set if they're like, well, Effie, like, she'll just low budget, but we'll always get paid. As soon as I heard, like, yo, this is getting fishy, I made sure to let everybody know and to be like, and this is terrible to say. I know this is not probably what you want to hear,
No,
but
no,
I
I
make
do.
sure to be like, I make sure that like you make sure that you have some leverage. Do you know what I mean? Because there's some shady people out there that will, because we work a week in arrears. But to be like, if you have a hard drive, it's funny how they'll find money for you. Do you know what I mean? Your paycheck.
Yeah.
I know this is not very classy of what I'm saying, but I'm being real about it because I do a lot of low budgets, and of course you go to like the proper thing is you go to your union rep, you go to the accountant, like you do. We all know those proper things. I'm doing the like when it's like we've got the union rep, you've gone to those things, you've done that, and you're going to get fined. They're going to get fined and all of that. But if they don't have the money, right? You know what I mean? Like you can't get water from a rock. But I'm saying what I've always found in my experiences from other people, because I've never done this. I will honestly say, as a black woman who came up as a line producer to producing, that's the one red line I've always held sacred. You never mess with anyone's money ever. Like ever. Like if you're like, we're gonna get it on Thursday, it's like, oh no, we're gonna get it Friday morning. Like if something happens, if a holiday or something like that, you make sure like you can call the payroll company, you can call that, like verify. But otherwise,
So great
like
communication helps from top down and bottom up, like both ways.
you have to,
Communication is
right, but you have
important.
to do that. But literally, because there's a lot of people, there's people out there, especially people doing micro dramas and verticals that get paid like a month after. Like
Mm,
that's another thing too, where I'm like, make sure you get your money.
yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I know
Well,
I'm not sounding, I'm like, I hate to like make sure you get your money
no,
and you
I mean
get it
that's
like in a
important.
week in arrears because
Yeah,
you're in the second week, like you're getting paid for last week's work this week. And if they can't pay last week, you think they're gonna be able to pay today?
right. No, we want to make sure that we're protecting, we're a right to work state. So we want to make sure that every crew member is being proactive and responsible for themselves, particularly in an instance if it's a non-union project, so that they need
If
to
it's
have their,
non-union, then 100% you do what I said. Like
yeah,
that. Sorry, but yeah,
like
100%.
you need to make sure that you have a copy of your crew agreement, your deal memo. I mean, there have been times where people here didn't know to have a copy, so they couldn't really
Yeah,
go
you
back,
gotta have your backup. Like it literally is
you
like
know.
the one thing about like, I will say this, especially as women, like we know how to keep receipts in all sorts of ways, right? You know what I mean? Like we can keep receipts and be like, but your deal memo, your pay stub, especially if you're doing something that's non-union, that means that there's not a fallback,
Mhm.
right? There's no bigger organization that you can go to that will have your back because you're just relying on the word of. So your deal memo is your legal contract, right?
Mhm.
You also need to know like what is their bank,
Right.
right? And when you do, oh yeah, because like let's say if I'm coming from California, right? Because we had to do that. I had to make sure that Chase. We had to make sure that I think we had to use Chase, right? Or if I'm not mistaken, I had to go find a Chase bank because I had to find a bank that actually was local there. But sometimes there's like East West Bank. That's not in Mississippi, right?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? That might be my bank or like different sort of bank. You need to make sure that people can have access to cash
Yeah.
and their bank. And so as a non-union person, I need to be like, yo, where is this come? You know what I mean? To be like, where is your bank? They can't be like, oh, our bank is like in Switzerland or blah blah blah. Be like, who's like, what's the local bank here that we can, not that you're going to show up at the bank, but you can go to the bank and say, here's my check. Like,
Yeah.
is there money in the account to cover, right? You know what I mean? From like that they're paying. Because there's
Yeah.
nothing worse than like them cutting a check. Because sometimes people do that. They'll cut a check and you'll deposit it and it bounces.
Mm. Yeah. So, I mean, our goal in our office is to make sure that everyone involved is being a responsible party. And that's the producers. We want you guys to do
Yeah.
your job well and, with grace and efficacy and efficiency. But we also want the crew to do the same. And we want our communities to do that as well. And so, I mean, I just think this, while you feel like maybe I shouldn't say this, well, we do need to say this out loud. Like, we need to each protect ourselves as individuals, whether you're the producer or you're the PA. Know the job, know what you signed up for, know when you didn't get paid and you were supposed to get paid, and communicate about that. Oftentimes, people that are new to the industry, they might not feel confident to say something. They're like, "Ooh, maybe if I say something, I'll get fired and they'll never have me back."
Well,
Well,
no, they can't. No one will ever be able to fire you if you say something, because then that's a big lawsuit. And if they do, like, that's even better for you, because then you can be like, then you're gonna get all the checks. If someone fires you looking to get we're looking to get paid, like, you'll get everything. But the other thing I want to add into, like, I'm started doing like this. I don't want people to be paranoid, but there's also something to be said of like, are you the only one who didn't get paid?
Okay.
Right? If a whole
Yeah.
crew doesn't get paid, then like it's a mutiny, right? But if it's like, well, we paid the actors and we paid so and so, because if they don't get paid, they're not going to show up to work. But
Yeah.
we think we can sort of, sort of flick about, you know what I mean? Like, so just also like you have to do a little bit of recon, but at the end of the day, also I think, but also, which is odd, kids today, they're not. I don't see them as being quiet, and like these, like the kids today are like, a closed mouth does not get fed, and they will put you on blast. Like, social media is real. Like that, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if we heard that movie that was in South Carolina. Do you know what I mean, with Jonathan Majors? Like, that was like, do you remember like the whole, anyway, so I'm not spreading gossip, but there's a whole thing where like they were struck, and like the crew people be like, oh, you don't want to pay us, or you want us to do something unsafe, and they just start putting that on blast. Game over.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? For the people, like the producers and all of that, of being like, oh no, and also the actors, it's shame, right? Because then if you're starting to like, oh, they didn't pay people on this film, that's not a story you want to have come out when you're at Sundance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Or you're doing publicity. You don't want someone to be like, where's my check?
Right. Right. So we have a database. I don't remember. I mean, I'm sure you accessed it at some point, where it's a locations database, but it's also a crew and vendors database. And we try very hard to make sure that people know you gotta be updated. So let's say that you go to our database and you are looking in the art department, and you're looking for a props person, and you see 15 names. Which profiles are going to stand out to you as a yes, and which are going to stand out to you as a no? And so
Can
just
you
know
give
that
me an example? Go ahead. Go ahead.
this is where they can update a picture. They can put a picture up. They can upload their resume. They can give you the list of their previous experience, their contact information. They can list special skills. So is there a
All
scenario
those
where you're like,
things looked at. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
is there a scenario where you're like, nope, I'm not even gonna look at that person, or absolutely this is the
I'll
person?
say no. I mean, the one I'm not looking at, if I see that you didn't fill anything in, or if there's like spelling mistakes, or if there's like, if it's like, oh, like our lies. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's a thing of like, no. Where I'll go to the light part of like, I'm excited to speak to someone who puts up a picture, that clearly says, this is what I do, this is what I don't do. I love it when someone has a little bit of humor or peculiarness about them. Do you know what I mean? Because it'd be like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? It's like, they give me a little bit of
Personality.
something. Yeah, a little bit of something. Um, you know, like that sort of thing. Like that's what I'm into. Like when people, you can tell when someone's sort of half, like, here's my name, here is this, and then like an IMDb link. Like you should know who I am. And I'm like, well, I don't know who you are if I'm looking at a database, right? Also, what's really helpful is like in a database like that. I think, didn't you have a little space of like references of like these are the people that I've worked with, or maybe that might be helpful. Because like if I can see what movies you've worked on, dollars to donuts, there's someone that I can call and be like, yo, is this person good? Is this all right? They've worked on all of these shows. And here's the thing that I will say that drives me nuts is when someone puts like a movie on their resume and they were only a day player. That does not give you the full credit, right? And that to me makes me go like, oh, you're a liar. Sorry to say that, but like that goes like, oh, you're like, if you lied about that, I don't know what you're gonna, but like, it's no shame of being like, oh, I did Spider-Man day player. I'm like, great, got it. That's a cute credit. Because someone's like, oh, it's a prop master for Spider-Man. I'm like, oh, excellent, get them. And then you're like, oh, they were like the third prop assistant on the busy day, blah, blah, blah. Like, be truthful.
Right.
Because anyway, oh, there's all the animals. Yeah. So there you go.
All right, we have a couple more minutes. Do you have any like just general like do's and don'ts that we haven't gone over that you just want to make sure that everybody in Mississippi knows this particular
But
thing?
I think, I mean, what I want to, like, the thing that I want to high five from Mississippi is, and this is me, and I'm not projecting, but I did get a little bit of this when I was there, is that you guys are just as good and fabulous as any other crew I've worked with. There was a little bit of like, oh, we're just small town, whatever. And I'm like, no, you're not. Like you are, like you would say for me, I'm like, you are just as like, I could put you dollars to donuts up to someone like in my New York crew or my LA crew. You're just nicer, right? You know what I mean? Like you're just someone I'd rather hang out with. You know what I mean? That's the truth, you know? So like, that's why I want like that lack and scarcity that sometimes people have when they're not on a coast, do you know, and making movies. You know, or someone being so grateful to be at the table. Do you know what I mean? That they'll accept conditions that aren't okay because they're like, you know, well, I'm just so happy to be invited to do it and to be like, no, why don't you be invited for your worth? You know what I mean? Like maybe what you should do is like, yeah, if everyone, because here's the thing that people will try to like, and the thing that I, you know, as a producer, I've learned this from doing it many, many years. By the end of a movie, everybody knows what everyone else is making. So when I say, look, it's parody, everyone's making scale, please know by that next week, you know what I mean? Like everybody's gonna know that like, wait, I'm a PA and I'm making 150 a day. You're the same thing and you're making 250? Forget it. That's where I'm like, that's where it gets like no good is gonna come of that. So like, so when I say don't always take less, do you know what I mean? To be like, oh, if everyone's making that, then no problem. Do you know what I mean? Like if we're all, so like that's something that I would also say for folks, or someone thinks like, oh, you live in Mississippi, I don't have to pay you real rates. And to be like, you expecting real work? Right? You know what I mean? If you're expecting real work, then you're probably expecting real rates, right? So anyway, so like those are the things that like I would just say that like just to sort of think about. And also like I'm excited to see, you know, regional filmmakers, like what you all are coming up with. You don't always have to wait for other people to come into town to shoot. You know, I'm excited to see like, you know, homegrown.
Thank you for saying that because that is really important to us, and we are hoping that that's going to happen more and more. It is happening more and more, I should say that, and we want to keep nurturing that. And you are part of that because when you're here working, you are training our people to then take the next step in their own work, which is amazing.
Yeah. And you guys were great. That's what I'm saying. Like it was really great. I have nothing bad to say. You know what I mean? I have nothing bad to say, except that I got really, really fat because the food was so good. But now I'm on that fat shot. Do you know what I mean? So like, it's good.
We have a
That
joke in
bound
our
works.
office. Our joke in the office is our tagline should be bring your stretchy pants.
Yes. I mean, I was happy. I'll tell you that right now. I'll tell you that I was happy.
Well, thank you for giving us an hour of your time. It is invaluable what you have shared, and obviously we are looking forward to your next movie here in
Yes.
Mississippi.
Perfect. You guys are wonderful. Thank you guys so much, and feel free to reach out if you ever need something again. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.